We have a huge update on Mitch Marner with a report coming out linking him to multiple teams around the NHL. In this video, we're going to talk about how he fits on all these teams and how much teams are going to have to fork up to bring this guy in. We're going to break it all down for you guys coming up on this episode of Hattrick HQ. But before we get into that, we want to say we're on the road for 17,000 subscribers here on the channel. So if you're a big hockey fan, you want to stay up on the latest news around the league going into a very busy offseason, make sure down below and hit that subscribe button. But with that said, we gotta jump right into this because this was a bombshell of a report that came out today from David Pagnotta and the Fourth Period, where he said Mitch Marner has a list of 7 or 8 teams he's looking at, including the Vegas Golden Knights, LA, San Jose, Columbus, and Anaheim, with those 3 teams are preparing huge offers to bring this guy into their team, which I think is huge. I think, obviously, Mitch Marner is the big name heading into free agency, and it's looking at this point in time like he will be testing the free agency unless, we've heard Toronto have those talks that they want to sign and trade because they don't want to let him walk for nothing. But I do think that he's going to head to free agency, and by the looks of it, Vegas and LA maybe are the top 2 teams in this, with, those edge rebuilding teams in Anaheim, San Jose, and Columbus all being in the mix as well. And we're going to talk about his fits on all these teams. But first, we got to talk about the player, as Mitch Marner this season had an unreal year. There's no doubt about how good this guy's year was. He went out and had a 102-point season, had his first 100-point season of his career, where he had over 70 assists, I believe 27 goals in this season as well. And just looking at his hockey stat card here, he had a great season. He was plus 15 offensive rating, plus 3 defensive rating. The big attractor for Mitch Marner from all these teams is obviously how versatile he is. His two-way game, how good he is defensively, paired with how good he is offensively, with a net rating of 18 this season. One big stat I did want to point out here is that he had 45 power play goals for, meaning that's how many goals he was out there for on the power play, and having an average game score of 1.35. He had a tremendous regular season. I know a lot of you guys are saying, regular season doesn't count if you can't do it in the playoffs, but he still did go out and have 13 points in the playoffs. Maybe he did look like a ghost at times, depending on which Toronto Maple Leafs fan you're looking at. But I think a big thing for Mitch Marner is obviously the spotlight. The spotlight he's in Toronto is unmatched, and obviously that's gotta suck, because he come off playoffs, not this year, but last year, where everybody blamed him for them getting put out. So he just comes in on the last year of his deal, trying to prove to all these Toronto fans that he can get it done, and ultimately they didn't get it done, which a lot of now Toronto fans are calling for him to be gone because they just want a different look. And I think getting Mitch Marner out of this spotlight and getting him into a situation where there is still going to be some spotlight on him because he's a big star in this league, but it's not going to be as much as it is in Toronto. I think he's going to thrive in that scenario, and I do think that he will, break out of that shell when the bright lights are off of him and just become a different player. Obviously, here's some stats from this season from him. He was great on the power play, 27 assists with 6 goals, and then obviously a great penalty killing guy as well. I mean, obviously looking at his strengths, his vision is probably the best thing about him. He has a third eye at times. He can really thread those passes through and find those goal scorers waiting on the other side of the net. Mitch Marner is such a great playmaker. He's such a great two-way guy as well. And one of those teams that we seen in the top mix for Mitch Marner there was the Vegas Golden Knights. And this is one that is very interesting because I went ahead and for all these pitchers we're going to see, I put a 7-year contract at $14 million AAV. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not, but it is in that range. It's at the highest end of the range at that. So when I put this in, it said that the Vegas Golden Knights would not be cap compliant with this contract. So they are going to have to move somebody out if they do go after a guy like Mitch Marner. But what we know about Vegas is, Vegas, they love the bright lights. They want to be in the mix in the playoffs every single year, and we've seen them make some crazy things happen like before, like Tomas Hurdle, and Noah Hannafin, and all that kind of stuff. Jack Eichel as well. They've made it all work somehow, so I can see a way that Vegas figures this out and gets a star like Mitch Marner there. Maybe they have to move on from a guy who's been there his whole career in William Karlsson, but I think if you get rid of him to bring in a guy like Mitch Marner, that's a pretty dang good deal. Looking at this initial roster, imagine having a top line of Jack Eichel, Mitch Marner, and Ivan Barbashev. I mean, that is a lethal top three. That offense would be so hard to stop with how good Eichel is and how good Marner is, and how good of a season Barbashev had as well. He was tremendous, and obviously, maybe Karlsson's gone here and Hurdle moves up to the 2C, but I do like this move for the Vegas Golden Knights. I definitely think it is worth the money, but they are going to be really tight on cap if, they make this work. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I definitely think it's one that could happen. But moving on to the next one here is the LA Kings. This one they actually have enough money to go out and make this happen when I put this in. So they still had some wiggle room left as well. So this is the one that I like the most. I think LA has always been there. Like they're such a team. They just go out there and they have a solid regular season every year. They're always in the playoffs, but they can't get past their mortal enemy in the Edmonton Oilers. They need to get past that team, and maybe Mitch Marner is a guy who could go out there and help him. I mean, looking at an initial roster with them with Turcotte, Kopitar, and Marner as your top line, look how deep this team gets. You have Trevor Moore now and Philip Deneau and Warren Foegele down on that third line. You move Kempe down to the second line, playing with Byfield and Fiala. This is such a deep forward core, and this offense throughout the entire lineup would be lethal. And I think Mitch Marner paired with a guy like Turcotte would really bounce off each other well. Even if they do decide to maybe move Fiala up to the top line, I could definitely see that. I think they would gel well together as well, but I really like this move for Mitch Marner and the LA Kings because I've always said that the LA Kings are one piece away from winning the Stanley Cup again, and I think Mitch Marner could be that piece. But we're going to keep moving on here, and this is one that's very interesting, is the Anaheim Ducks. Obviously, they got a lot of money to work with, and if he's going to go anywhere, it's going to be to one of these rebuilding teams. It's going to be Anaheim or San Jose, which is a team we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But just initial looks on Anaheim here, I think this would be a great fit for him. Obviously, they got a lot of great young stars down there with Leo Carlsson, Cutter Gauthier, obviously Trevor Zegras. There's been a lot of trade talks around him over this past year as well. I do like this. I think getting him in there with these young guys, becoming that mentor for them and also carrying the load on offense a little bit, I would really help these guys out and really help develop these guys. And I do like it. I think if it is a move that he sees fit, this is where he will get that $14 million, as if one of these teams does pick them up. And maybe he likes where the direction that Anaheim is going, and that's where he ends up. But the last team we're going to talk about today is the San Jose Sharks, and I do like this fit. I'm a little bit biased because I'm a big Sharks guy. I like the Sharks, and I think what Mike Grier and the San Jose Sharks have built over their time as GM, I think it has been exceptional. Obviously, getting a top prospect in Macklin Celebrini, goes out, has a Calder contention season for them this year and played some great hockey. I think getting him in there, like kind of what I said with Anaheim, and just mentoring these young guys and maybe expediting their development a little bit, speeding that up. Obviously, playing with such a high-end guy would be great. And I think Mike Grier is a few moves away. I mean, they got $40 million in cap space. That's right, $40 million. So they can go out, get this guy, and they still got $30 million in the bank, which is crazy. So they could go out and build a great team around them, and a team that can compete, I think. If you go out, sign a few vet role players from that bottom six, I think this San Jose Sharks team could definitely compete for a playoff spot with Mitch Marner on this roster. But I want to hear what you guys are saying. Where do you think Marner ends up? If I had to put some money on it, I'm definitely gonna put it on LA. I think that's just the perfect home for him. I think that LA with Mitch Marner is an absolutely fireworks team to watch, and I think that's just where I'd like to see him go. But I'd like selfishly like to see him in San Jose as well. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you think happens? Do you think it's a sign and trade? Do you think he just goes into free agency and all these teams just throw every bit of money at him? Let me know down below in the comment section. Love to hear all your guys' thoughts on this. But if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be here every day bringing you the latest news around the NHL. But as always, I've been your host, KC. We'll catch you in the next one.